Welcome back, folks, to WrestleRant. I'm Graham GSM Matthews, back with another review of the King of the Ring pay-per-view as seen in the WWE Network. Today we're talking about King of the Ring 1999, and easily the worst installment up to this point. I know I shit a lot over the 94-95 shows. The 94 show wasn't too bad. The 95 show sucked. The 97 and 98 shows weren't great. They were just kind of par for the course of that year, but at least they had some, highlights, obviously. 98 being the Hell in a Cell match and the main event and the historic moments. Really nothing notable about the show whatsoever. Really no saving graces. I'll try to keep this review as condensed and as brief as possible because I really do not have many positive things to say about this show. It really was kind of a waste of a pay-per-view. So unlike in past years, we pretty much had the entire tournament on this show. They had the qualifying matches and whatever on Raw in the weeks leading up to this, but they had all the quarterfinal matches, all the semifinals, and the finals on this show. So, and it was one of the shortest, easily the shortest King of the Ring installment up to this point at almost 2 hours and 36 minutes on the WWE Network. So, the shortest show, yet the most amount of matches, which was ridiculous. And you'll understand why in a second. So we had the opener. X-Pac and Hardcore Holly, King of the Ring quarterfinal match was over in a few minutes. Hardcore Holly got X-Pac. He disqualified himself. He injured him with a chair. X-Pac was battling injuries throughout the show, so that was his, out for losing later on, but that was why they kept the matches short, because he was injured. He was going into this thing with a disadvantage, but that's why the match was kept so short. Not really an exciting opener whatsoever. Basically what you would expect. DQ, Hardcore Holly gets himself out of the tournament. X-Pac advances. After that, Kane in the Big Show, and another quarterfinal match in the King of the Ring tournament. Just fucking awful match. And I know that really kind of speaks for itself, Kane and the Big Show. I mean, they've never really had one good match ever, but this was just worse than usual. I don't know what it was, but this was just the drizzling shits. Not a good match whatsoever. Hardcore Holly comes in after getting himself DQ'd in the previous match, comes out, attempts to attack Big Show at the chair. Kane stops him, and because if he did do that, Big Show would advance and not Kane, so Kane ushers him out of there. Kane scores the victory to advance. After that, we had Billy Gunn versus Ken Shamrock, another quarterfinal matchup. Not a really good match. After a very weak finish, Ken Shamrock was also coming into the show injured, being attacked before the show on Heat by, I believe, Shane McMahon. And he's bleeding from the mouth, refusing medical attention, whatever. So the match ends after Billy Gunn hits a move, a powerbomb or something, and the referee just throws the match out because he sees that Ken Shamrock is bleeding. So a very weak finish. I understand they wanted to protect Ken Shamrock, but, the former King of the Ring winner from the year prior, but a very weak finish, and the match itself was not good. And then we get to the final quarterfinal match, which was probably my favorite match in the entire show, believe it or not. Road Dogg in China. Yes, believe it or not, was probably my favorite match in the entire show. Road Dogg and Chyna putting together a very entertaining match. Some well-used interference from Triple H at ringside on behalf of Chyna. And this was obviously after the whole dissolution of D-Generation X and all the members of the group were battling each other for rights of the name and whatever. But anyway, Road Dogg and Chyna having a very good match. I mean, Chyna you would expect. I mean, it's not even like an intergender thing, and Chyna speaks for herself in that if you've seen her matches before, you know what I'm talking about. It's not really like a handicap and that you're facing a woman. She basically was like an equal to the men, and she wasn't equal to Road Dogg here. Hitting him with a low blow, but it backfired because Road Dogg wore a cup, which to me, and my brother just asked me this when we were watching TakeOver Dallas a couple days ago, and I was wondering the same thing. I've been wondering the same thing for years. Why don't wrestlers, not only in storyline, but just also in reality too, wear cups? I mean, I guess if you're flying around and you're doing flippity-doo-dahs, it's, going to fall out of place or whatever. But I don't know, it's always been an interesting question to me. For some reason, I've always never really understood why wrestlers don't wear cups. And maybe they do wear protective gear down there, I'm not really sure. But from what I understand, wrestlers do not wear cups. And you would think, it's not like, they wear tights and trunks anyway, so I don't really understand what the disadvantage would be to wearing a cup. But That just kind of came to my mind after I was watching this match, and Chyna hit him the low blow. And Road Dogg, the first and only man, probably ever, and the smartest man ever to wear a cup during his match. Brock Lesnar, after getting hit in the nards, 4 or 5 times over the past year, you would think that he would learn from that same mistake. Take a note out of Road Dogg's book. So, very fun match. Like I said, probably the best thing in the entire show. Hardy Boys and the Brood, Edge and Christian up next in the number 1 contenders match to determine the number 1 contenders to the tag team titles. In a fun match, it didn't get nearly enough time for 5 minutes, but still good for what it was. I mean, it's the fucking Hardys and Edge and Christian. You can't go wrong. It wasn't the finish. The finish was Gangrel accidentally spitting blood into Edge's face, and that cost him the victory. Hardy Boys won. But there was one spot towards the end where Jeff Hardy they were going for a poetry in motion, I believe. Jeff Hardy jumped on Matt's back, maybe Christian's. I'm pretty sure it was Matt's, though. And goes for poetry in motion. Edge catches him with a spear out of nowhere. Almost as beautiful as the spear out of nowhere, also to Jeff Hardy at WrestleMania 17. Just a fucking phenomenal spot. Like I said, it didn't finish the match, which was kind of weird, but they showed it in the replay, and it just looked freaking phenomenal. So good shit here. Like I said, just too short of a match, but still fun while it lasted. King of the Ring semifinal, Billy Gunn taking on Kane. Not a good match at all. Big Show comes down, cost Kane the victory rather after he beat him in the quarterfinal. So Billy Gunn advances. X-Pac versus Road Dogg up next. Another not really good match. I mean, it was too short to really mean anything at all. They were telling the story that it was best friend versus best friend. X-Pac won in the end. Despite all the injuries, he scored the victory himself. And Road Dogg showed his respect afterwards. Like I said, for the story they were telling, it could have been a really good match. Road Dogg was super over. They might as well just have made him the king of the ring, but I digress. Just too short of a match to really mean anything. The WWE Championship match I thought was good. Not great, but entertaining. Just riddled with interference from Triple H and whoever else. Attacking The Rock that would set the stage for their fully loaded match the following month. Not a great match, like I said, but still good and like a fucking 5-star classic compared to everything else in the undercard. But so that was good. Taker's still the WWE champion. Billy Gunn versus X-Pac in the King of the Ring finals. Not a good match at all. Went all of 5 minutes. Billy Gunn won with a Faymaster off the top rope, which was cool. But Billy Gunn was such a waste as King of the Ring. They had, too high hopes for him. Probably only Vince, but officials had high hopes for him as a single star. He flopped. Didn't get over as a heel. They brought him back. They just, reunited him with Road Dogg not too much later after this. So they probably just would have been better off giving the crown to X-Pac or fucking Road Dogg, who was over anyway, or even China. I would have loved to see that. But Billy Gunn as King of the Ring was ultimately a giant waste. And then we get to the main event. Now, speaking of waste, we have a handicap ladder match for control of the WWF, WWE, whatever, control of the company between Vince and Shane McMahon and Stone Cold Steve Austin, a 2-on-1 handicap match. It was supposed to be Shane, and then he got attacked afterwards, quote unquote. And then Shawn Michaels, who was the commissioner at that time, deemed Shane able to compete, so he brought him out. And instead of Steve Blackman, it was Shane McMahon and Vince. As originally scheduled, taking on Stone Cold. I've seen the match before. It was on the ladder match DVD. Maybe the second one. I'm pretty sure it's on the second one. The Crash and Burn DVD from a few years ago. Not a bad match. Again, it was entertaining because it's a 2-on-1 handicap ladder match. Just the only thing against the match, and I also thought it was cool too, like when Stone Cold was going for the briefcase and they pulled it up higher and it was revealed to be Big Boss Man the next night on Raw. So I thought that was cool. Not the reveal, really, but the briefcase kind of getting pulled higher and higher, and you were wondering who was behind it. But again, it was ultimately a waste because Stone Cold won the belt back the very next night on Raw anyway, and then right after that, that was pretty much it. He became WWE champion. The control of the company really didn't matter at all. So it was really a waste to have these guys even really fighting, and it was kind of a waste of a pay-per-view main event. Stone Cold became WWE champion. Control of the company was ultimately meaningless. Vince was off TV before being brought back when Triple H won the championship a few months later. Again, really just kind of a waste of a match and a waste of a main event, a waste of a show. And again, I've shit on pay-per-views before. I mean, I've shit on the King of the Ring pay-per-views before. 98 and 97 were infinitely better than this one. It's not a terrible show, but when you look back on it and realize how bad some of the matches are and how meaningless some of the matches are and how meaningless the overall event is, it really is, I would have to go so far as to say, the worst King of the Ring pay-per-view of all time. And I think, again, 96 I enjoyed. It must have been 95 I thought was just the hot, steaming, drizzling shits. 97 and 98 weren't that bad. They had their shining moments. This show really had no saving grace at all. Like I said, Road Dogg and China, even though that's really the only good match in this show other than the WWE title match was good, but not worth watching, not worth going back and watching. The main event was what it was, but really a waste, so that wasn't really worth watching either. The only match that really entertained me was Road Dogg and China, but even that match, I wouldn't say like the only match, there's any one match from the show I would recommend going out of your way to see, it would be that one. Even that match isn't really worth your time. This whole show is a complete waste of time. Unless you love nostalgia, or you grew up during 99 as a wrestling fan, or there is a match, or you've seen the pay-per-view before and you enjoy it. Just if you've never seen it before, like I had not, prior to watching it just recently, then I would not recommend watching the show. It really was, in so many words, a waste of an event. And that was King of the Ring 1999, guys. As always, thank you for watching and listening. I appreciate your support. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be back in my next video to talk about King of the Ring 2000 as we wind down our King of the Ring pay-per-view reviews. After that, I believe I'm talking about SummerSlam 2015. So King of the Ring 2000, upcoming videos. King of the Ring 2000, 01, 02, and then SummerSlam 2015. Maybe something in between there, but I'm pretty sure that's what the schedule is over the next couple of weeks in the first few months, or rather first few weeks of August. So on that note, guys, have a great rest of your weekend or week or whatever it might be. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch you folks down the road.